This is a video on how to de-pin the x6031 connector on a BMW E36. This happens to be a 98 M3, and the x6031 connector is the third one here next to the fuse panel, the one closest to the firewall. The reason why I'm doing this is the original boot that was on it. A mouse got to it and chewed it up, so it doesn't seal anymore. I actually cut it open to remove it, but I want to replace the boot. Now, I don't know if you can get these boots new. I tried a few places to see if you could get the boot off a used car. You know, your luck may vary, but I wasn't able to find someone who was going to part with just the boot without buying the whole harness or what. So I did find this, which is a pretty close match. This actually goes on the secondary air injection connector. I think it goes right there on the bottom, actually, of this connector there. It's a little bigger. I'm going to see how it works, but I'll put the part number for this in the description and show you what it looks like when it's all done. The challenge with these is they're a little different than the other connectors. These you can use this de-pinning tool that you get from falkmfg.com. He advertises that they work with different connectors, including this one, but you don't actually need this de-pinning tool to do this. You can slide it over the pins, and you can push, and you can turn, twist, but it won't pull the pin out. You actually have to unlock the connector. And I could not find anything online about how to do this, so that's why I'm making this video. So what I did, because this is old 20-year-old plastic and I didn't want to make things worse, I used a little silicone spray, sprayed it in the connector there, so and then I used a little bit of a heat gun on low to warm up the connector. It's about 70 out right now, but I wanted to warm it up a little bit so the plastic wouldn't be as brittle, and that seems to have worked. So what I did was, I'm going to use this straw here to this piece right here that I'm poking at with the straw, that needs to turn counterclockwise by, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 degrees to get it to unlock. And then you can pull the pins out from the back. So right about here and the opposite side about here, there's little notches. If you can apply pressure that way, counterclockwise, you should hear a small click and it'll turn just a little bit, hardly perceptible, but it will click. I don't know how to tell if you know if it's unlocked or not, other than just making sure that it moves a little bit. And then you can pull the pin out from the back once you get that little rubber grommet slid back. I use a small pick to get the grommet out of its hole and then just slide it back. So that worked for that one. I'll show you how I did it. I used these needle nose pliers. They're long, they have a 90 degree, and the tips are very narrow. So, because I can't hold the camera and do it at the same time, I'm going to just show you what I'm talking about best I can. Get these in here. I actually held them a little closer here, and then get them in those little notches. Make sure they're in the notches and not going inside. You don't want to break the other pieces here, but get it in there. Give yourself plenty of light to work with. Use a lubricant, use a little bit of heat if it's cold out, Maybe even make sure it's clean in there, and give it a turn, and it should click and allow you to pull the pins out from the back. That's what worked for me, and so I'm going to continue to pull these pins out and thread them through my new boot, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're all done. So quick correction, I guess the first pin that I tried to pull out was loose enough it didn't need the de-pinning tool, but the second one did not come out by itself, so I did insert the de-pinning tool in there. You can see where it slides over the metal pin, but between the plastic and the pin, or the terminal, just push it in, and then this should come right out. So let's see if I can do another one here. Kind of push that in. Just feel a small click when you push it in, and the pin comes out. So you will need a little bit of pressure. That's about as far as you need to push it in until you hear a small click, and it releases these little sort of barbs on the terminal. Pushes the barbs down, and then the pin can go out that way. So I brought the connector over to my bench after I de-pinned it. Got a little bit better light here. Figured I'd show you a little bit better view of what to look for. So here's the inside of the connector. This notch here, and then the opposite side here is what you want to lock into with a tool, and then turn it counterclockwise. Let's see if I can show you there. I don't know. There's a notch right there. So this ring turns separate from the rest of the connector. So you take your tool, whatever you've got that can fit in there. You could use 2 screwdrivers. You could use, I tried using something like this. I think that was a little too small, and this is too thin. Just having to be just the right width to not slip out. Get the pliers in that gap there, and then just try to turn it gently counterclockwise. Try holding it like that if you want to get better control, and that should unlock it. So bringing it over here, this is the old boot. That's what it would look like normally. The new boot is bigger, as you can see, but the good thing is it does fit over. It's a little loose. What I'll probably do is put a little zip tie in this little groove here to keep it tight, but it looks pretty factory. I'm going to be happy with that. So I'll show you the end product. So we're almost home. Got of the 8 connectors I have, your car may have more or less, I don't know, may depend on the year. I wrapped 4 each in electrical tape as tightly as I could and threaded it through the back, you know, one bundle at a time. Got the first one poking out here, and then got the second one in. Used some pliers to pull it through from this side. I don't know if an old boot, dried out boot, would survive and not tear, but the new one's pretty flexible and pliable, so that worked out pretty well. But just a little tip there. All right, everything's done. Here's the finished product. The boot looks like it belongs there. I didn't put a zip tie on it yet, but it does do a good job of sealing out dust and water and whatnot, so that'll work pretty well. I'll put some links to parts and things that I mentioned in the description of the video.